When you're a psychiatrist, when you're dealing with mental health, you're dealing with the big questions of existence, really, the big questions of us as human beings, you know, what it is to be, you know, a person.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to me that mental ill health is the poor relation of physical health. Nick, I'll go to you. Why?
My imagination of the gig is what you would expect Oasis to be emotionally committed to. It never. It's a bit. It's that huge a gig for me. For my age group, there are certain things that you've got to achieve in your life. One is you've got to have a pair of blue Levi's. Two, you've got to be able to play a 12-bar shuffle on a Fender Stratocaster, which is red and white, and have a Harley Davidson. Those are the things that you must do before you crew.
One day, Lord, I got shut down, legs my feet just hit the ground. Wipe the tears out of my eyes, see if I was still alive. Look fast, it, time to stop. I'm the hero in the box. There she goes with a feather in the head. There she goes, that day. Shot a man the night before, like a grim people knocking off my door. Before I left, looking in the eye, see the picture of his wife and his little child. Look fast, it, time to stop.
Well, I'm higher than that jet plane.
Why did you bring us to the Millennium Stadium here in Cardiff?
Well, it's a place that strives for excellence, which is, I suppose, what we in research are trying to do. We're trying to do science in the best way we can, and I suppose we've done that to a great extent in Cardiff. You know, it's something that we pride ourselves on doing.
To me, down the barrel of the lens, brilliant. I passed my test in Farnborough in '78, so I've always had a keen interest in motorcycles. And when I was doing the jam days, I used to live in this infamous house in Sandhurst, and one of my flatmates had bought a Harley Davidson, and I always could remember him coming home because you could hear it. So that's the reason why I've got a Harley Davidson, is because of the sound. I love the sound of a Harley roaring. So if you can go halfway down, somewhere around there, why do you think we should discuss Alzheimer's in a film series about mental health? Why is Alzheimer's related to a mental health issue?
Well, it's about the brain, and mental health is about brain health, and Alzheimer's is basically the death of parts of the brain. It also produces symptoms that you see in other psychiatric disorders. Half the people who develop Alzheimer's disease will also develop psychotic symptoms, which is very distressing for them and for their families, and usually results in them being institutionalized earlier. You know, they lose their independence.
I would say Lulu is the closest.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'd definitely say Lulu. It's the closest thing to flying. It's hard to describe unless you're a biker. There's something quite attractive about being in the open air. With a helmet, it's easy to be a recluse still. You know, with a full face hat, you can still be in your own little world, even though you're outside, because it's not the real me. The real me is this person that's frightened of my own shadow at times. Can you clear this up? What's the difference between, say, dementia and Alzheimer's?
Okay, dementia is a sort of umbrella term that encompasses all forms of dementia, of which Alzheimer's is probably the most common. In the very simple terms, it's about cells dying, and usually they start in a certain region of the brain, the hippocampus, and then spread out. But it's about cell death. And what that means is that you see memory problems, you see problems with thought processes, you may see other symptoms. But actually the disease has probably started 15 years earlier, something like that. So the disease within the brain starts many years before you see the first signs in terms of memory problems or cognitive problems.
In theory, a lot of people could have Alzheimer's but not know it.
Exactly, yes.
Try and encapsulate, you know, those sort of emotions in your face where, you know, you're a human being but you understand the gravity of this illness. That's nice. I guess what we've been doing with these series of films is the rehabilitation of Twink. You know, the rehabilitation, the reintroduction to society. There's a sense of tremendous achievement of actually, you know, setting out on this journey and writing an album and producing an album and spending hours upon hours mixing, trying to refine this, that and the other. But there is also the anxiety of, well, will people like the stuff? So it's a bipolar answer. How big a problem will Alzheimer's become in the next few decades?
In actual numbers, there's just about 820,000 individuals have dementia in the UK, and Alzheimer's is about over 50% of those. So you're looking at 450,000 with Alzheimer's disease at the moment.
So we could fill this stadium 6 times?
Yes.
And there still wouldn't be enough room?
Yes, that's about the number of people that have Alzheimer's in the UK at present.
Right.
It's estimated that the number of people with Alzheimer's disease will double by 2050.
So it's vital that we spend some money now.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we now, in the last 2 years, we know what to do now.
Right.
We know where to spend our money. We know that there are potential answers out there that we had no idea about 2 years ago.
Could I ask you to do a photograph of me?
You sure you want to trust me with it?
Yeah. I'm in focus. Go on, Papas.
We've recently identified 8 new genes that contribute to one's risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And that is highlighting a number of potential mechanisms, some that we were aware of before, but some that are totally new. So I'm very excited. I think, you know, from a scientific point of view, we've got lots of really appropriate, relevant questions that we can answer. You know, the science is not that difficult. It's stuff we can do within the field. Right. I envisage that for, you know, my children, the next generation, they in their 40s and 50s will be taking preventative drugs. Like we take statins now, we control our blood pressure, and that helps with heart disease and stroke, etc. We will be doing something similar to prevent the onset of dementia.
Lovely. We'll make a pap out of you, yes. The gig is it's the most exposed I've ever been. Unless I had some form of stability, I couldn't even contemplate it. But the gig is in front of supportive, well, basically my friends down in Cardiff. And I guess it's a test and a testament of how far I've come from being a virtual recluse to the album and then this gig thing.
Neil, when you're singing into the microphone, you're still like either singing quiet and then loud again, then...
I'm trying to be creative.
Which it doesn't work.
I'm trying to say that.
You're trying to be arty-farty, but you're not.
Everyone's mood can be up one day, down a bit another day, but normally our brains keep the mood within normal levels.
Right.
With bipolar disorder, what's happening is the person's brain can't maintain those normal levels,
Right.
and they can either go excessively high or deeply low,
Right.
and that may either just come out of the blue due to random changes, or it may be an overreaction to something that's making them feel good or low.
I thought, well, the second coming's going to happen, and I'm going to be the second coming. So I got in touch with the chief rabbi and tried to convince him to teach me how to read and write Hebrew, so I could read the Bible in its native tongue. Because I figured if I was going to be the next Jesus, I would need to know these sort of things. Okay, so we're on the way to Cardiff. Is everybody in shot for the crew? Okay. So here's to our adventure. We're going down to Cardiff now, beautiful day. And let's have a fucking great gig.
That's it.